20th, 2021 Mimesburg City School Board meeting to order. Let's rise for the pledge. Call, please.
Mr. Amsler?
Here.
Mrs. Angel?
Here.
Mr. Lewis?
Here.
Mrs. Neese?
Here.
Mr. Toadvine?
Present.
Dr. Blessing? Present. I'm present. Mr. Hegaman?
Here.
Next, we have the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
We
for.
adopt the agenda. I beat you to it, Tim.
I'll second it then.
Okay. So first by Angel, second by Lewis. Next, we have our approval of, roll call, sorry, yeah. Roll
Mrs.
call.
Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine?
Yes.
Mr. Amsler?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mrs. Neese?
Yes. Next, we have the approval of minutes. The recommended action is that we approve the special board meeting minutes and regular board meeting minutes for meetings held on April 29th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I move for the approval of the minutes for the meetings of May 20th, 2021, 2001, yeah, I was here then too, and May 20th, 2021.
No, that's not right.
That's not right.
Tonight's the 20th. We haven't had our meeting yet. Those minutes aren't correct.
So,
It's May 20th and May 20th.
April 29th.
It's April 29th.
Okay,
April 20th.
yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
I'll approve the minutes for April 29th, 2021.
Okay, so first by Toadvine and second by Amsler. All right. The approval of the financial
We
report.
have to roll call.
Roll call, I keep forgetting roll call tonight. Okay, roll call.
Mr. Toadvine?
Yes.
Mrs. Neese?
Yes.
Mr. Amsler?
Yes.
Mrs. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Okay, the approval of the financial report. The recommended action to approve the financial report dated April 30th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll move for the approval of the financial report, April 30th, 2021.
Second.
First by Lewis, second by Angel. Ms. Hegaman?
Well, we're actually doing much better than we thought we were going to be doing in November, so that's good news. And so we're running closely to what our estimates were, just a little bit over in revenues, which is always good because that means more money, and just a little bit under in expenses, which means we're tightening our belts as we should, so we're doing really good. So I'm going to update you this evening on the 5-year, and then those updates will be made once your approval, once we have your approval on the 5-year, we'll update the budgets accordingly as well. So everything looks pretty good, so I was pretty pleased. So unless anyone has any questions.
Your roll call?
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Amsler?
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine?
Yes.
Mrs. Angel?
Yes.
Mrs. Neese?
Yes. Next, we have the recognition of citizens, staff, and students. So we're going to start first with our April Student of the Month, Chloe Barlett from Medlar View Elementary School. And Mr. Amsler is going to read a bit about her.
Miamisburg City School District April Student of the Month is Medlar View Elementary student Chloe Bartlett. She was nominated by her teacher, Rachel Seidler. Ms. Seidler said, "I would like to nominate third grade student Chloe Bartlett for Student of the Month. Chloe serves as a great example of what it means to be a star musketeer. More significantly, she excels at treating others with respect and working to the best of her ability. Chloe treats others with respect in the classroom by treating them the way they would want to be treated. She is always polite and can frequently be heard saying please, thank you, or excuse me to adults and students. When she meets other students who may need assistance with a task, she is always willing to help them in a kind and respectful manner. Chloe works to the best of her ability because she always tries her best on every assignment and takes her time completing the work. Chloe has a growth mindset. She perseveres through assignments and asks questions to help develop a stronger understanding of assignment expectations and concepts taught in class. I can always count on Chloe to participate by volunteering to answer a question or lead a discussion in small groups. It is clear that she takes ownership of her learning and does everything she can to succeed. Thank you to Chloe for being so respectful towards others and always working so incredibly hard in the classroom. Our student of the month for April is Miss Chloe. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations, Chloe. From the Board of Education, we have this medallion, a Student of the Month medallion. You're very welcome. And do you have any special guests that you brought with you this evening? Do you want to introduce them to us? And I think your teacher's here this evening too. And what is her name? Is she back there? So do you have any special plans for the summer? Are you excited? We're almost finished with school. Any fun things you have lined up? Well, it feels like summer outside today, doesn't it? Dr. Blessing, you want to get Mrs. Scheidler up? Sure. Yay, it's almost summer.
All right. Next we have the Martin Luther King Art, Poetry, Prose Contest winners. And Miss Henry Jones, I'm not sure how to pronounce your first name.
It is pronounced Faraha.
Faraha. Okay, Faraha Henry Jones and Yvonne Curry. And the students represented today are Addison Ledley, Hannah Michael, Joy York, and Mimesburg Middle School teacher Robin Blathers and Michelle Dakin.
They're hiding.
I know, right? It's hard to have the spotlight on you sometimes. So was someone, should we proceed or was someone looking to see if?
Checking to see if any.
They're coming.
They're coming. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Good.
I think the students all decided they would just hang out.
Keep going, keep going. Come right in front.
Front and center.
Keep that train running. Train there, Robin.
We haven't met before. I'm Faraha Henry Jones. Good to see you all in person. We've seen your work, but not your faces. Oh. That's okay. Oh, they're outside? Okay, good.
We have another student group out there as well.
They sound like they're not.
Sounds like a party.
I know.
Do you want to go ahead and
Okay.
start?
Okay, I will. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Yvonne Curry, and I am one of the judges of the essay part of the Martin Luther King Margaret Peters Essay, Art, and Poetry Contest. This has been an annual occasion for 3 decades in Dayton and Miami and the Miami Valley. And what the purpose of this is that, oh, I should say, Mrs. Blathers is the first teacher from Miamisburg to have participated in the contest. So we hope we get a lot more. It makes it a lot more fun. Yeah, so thank you. And the reason we have this is that we feel it's very important for young people to recognize the struggle for equality, and also also understand and study the transformative lessons that we've learned from Dr. Martin Luther King. And it is important that they feel that they can express that in whichever way they want. That's why we have art, essay, and poetry, so that whichever one is the most comfortable for them and the one that they feel they can express themselves most truthfully, that's what we allow them to do. So with that, I would like to introduce Faraha Henry Jones, who is the chair of the committee for the contest.
Thank you so much for allowing us to be here. The pandemic interrupted our usual celebration of the Martin Luther King contest, but we're so pleased to be here in your hometown to publicly acknowledge everything that you've done. For those of you who don't know about the contest, the youth were given a series of quotes to choose from, and they decided to respond to it creatively. I don't have all 3 folks' work here, but I do have the winner's work. This was created by Hannah Michael. Of course, that's how things go sometimes. Somebody needs to tell that girl to come in here. I want to see her. This was created by Hannah Michael. She was the 7th through 9th grade winner when she was an 8th grader. I believe she's now a 9th grader. And this quote from Martin Luther King said, "If you lose hope, somehow you lose the vitality that keeps life moving. You lose that courage to be, that quality that helps you go on in spite of it all. And so today, I still have a dream." And she designed this beautiful piece of work with 2 young women holding hands facing a rising sun. We also have a young participant. Which of you is Jolie? Oh, wonderful. Jolie is one of the first participants from your district also to contribute some artwork. The curator of all the artwork wasn't able to give me your piece, but the good thing is that your work will be displayed at the Paul Laurence Dunbar House, which is opening soon, and we'll have a wonderful celebration on June 26th, so everybody in the whole community can come to Dunbar House and see all of your work displayed there. So we have Jolie York, and we also have Addison Ledley, so that must be you. Addison Ledley was the 8th grade winner when she was in 8th grade, right? You're now in 9th grade? You made it. We all made it. The quote was, "No one is free until we are all free." And she did this very bold, wonderful design. Their teachers were Michelle Dakin and Robin Blathers. And we want to give certificates to all 3 students and to the teachers. The teacher certificate says that Robin Blathers and Michelle Dakin have been outstanding proponents of the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. through their roles as educators in the Miamisburg Middle School and in their district, and through their years of dedication to this contest. So thank you so very much, and let me give you your awards. Jolie, thank you. I wish someone could take our
Thanks, Ms. Dakin and Ms. Blathers. I hope we'll continue to enter that contest. It's really neat. All right, let's go on to the recognition of appreciation for our retirees. It is recommended that the Board of Education adopt resolutions of appreciation for the following employees. And I'm going to read the resolution first. Whereas the following employees have rendered 440 years service to Miamisburg City Schools, and whereas their performance, conduct, and sincerity in carrying out their duties have exemplified the highest level of achievement, and whereas they have distinguished themselves as certificated and classified employees in the Mimesburg City School District. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Mimesburg City School Board of Education pass this resolution as a token of its appreciation for their outstanding conduct, and that such resolution become part of the permanent minutes of said Board of Education. We're going to call your name and come on up and talk a little bit about you, and if you'd like to say something as well, we wanted to make sure you got to do that. So we're going to start.
Motion made first.
Yeah, oh, okay, the motion, yeah, all right. And do I have a motion? Sorry.
It looks like they don't want people to retire, huh?
Okay, okay.
All of those employees.
Second.
All right. First by Angel, second by Amsler. Okay, so we'll start with Aaron Brown. Yeah, I want to. And she has 53 years experience, or teaching years, and they're mostly at the middle school, correct, Aaron?
I had 25 at Mark Twain,
Oh, wow.
and then I moved to the 6th grade, and then it was to middle school.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
You're the guest of honor.
Yeah, I'll wait till the end. Yeah, we'll bring them all
All
up.
right. And then next we have Debbie Carmichael.
Yeah, whenever.
Okay. And Debbie has 22 years as a media assistant. Did you want to say something, Aaron or Debbie? We can do that now instead of wait till the end.
I want to thank Sharon and Dawn for the cycle.
You were a good hire, girl.
Yes, we were there from the very beginning. I just want to say, I didn't think I could do this. This school district has been my family, and I've had kids, and I've had grandkids, and I want to tell you, I started in the 2nd grade here in Mimesburg with Rowena Bauer as my principal at kinder. And it's just been happy. And I won't miss it all, but it's fun.
I'd like to say, Aaron, you had several of my grandchildren, and they just thought you was the bomb. So,
We had a good time. We had fun.
yeah, they learned a lot and had fun. That's what they'd always say. Gosh, we learned so much and it was fun. So, thank you for doing it.
Okay, next we have Karen Christophus. Is she here tonight?
Yep.
There she is, okay. And Karen has 22 years teaching experience as a Ohio Reads coach and a special education assistant. Do you want to say anything, Karen?
22 years goes like really, really fast. Every time you think about it. My job is nothing more than that.
Okay, next we have Robin Collins. Robin has 33 years experience teaching, and I know your last stint has been at Mound. I don't know if you've been anywhere else.
My whole stint has
Okay.
been in the fourth grade. I have not,
Oh, wow.
rarity, I know. Yeah, all in Mount, all in the fourth grade. No, it was never traded. I improved classes one time. One time. But I'll just say thanks to everybody that's helped me along the way. I'm not gonna cry. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh, and I'm leaving you in good hands because my daughter just started this year, so
Oh,
you can't get rid of us Collins.
I will say, you have had both of my great-grandchildren, and they have loved you.
Well, I love them, and I've had some of Mr. Toadvine's
Yes,
kids
you have.
and grandkids.
Kids and grandkids.
But I'm not that old to have that. And Mr. Holmes' kids.
all right, next we have Jenny Eaton. And Jenny has 33 years teaching experience. I know right now she teaches at Mark Twain. I don't know if she's been at any other buildings or not. And I know you taught. Thank you. Next we have Kenny Garber. Okay, well, he has 35 years as a bus mechanic and a head bus mechanic, so he's much appreciated. And then next we have Bev Isakovich. Is Bev here? Did I miss? Oh.
You're okay.
And Bev has 34 years teaching.
Just come on down.
I believe mostly in special ed, but you can tell us more if I don't have that right.
Seventh, eighth, and ninth grade, mid-high, so retirement is a big change, so a little nerve-wracking, but I'm excited to do that. Tough decision. Mine has been a great place.
Thank you. All right, next we have Leanne Kenner. And Leanne has 30 years as a teacher, as a music teacher,
Lock me into that.
and I think mostly at the high school.
7 years at Dayton Christian first, and then I went 7 years at the middle school, and then rest was
And she's the music director of the Madrigal Singers as well, I'm sure, of other groups, but that's the one you're famous for. Yeah.
Leanne, Kramer was over the other night, and I was, just happened to be reading through the agenda. And I was reading the names off of everyone that was retiring to Becky, my wife, and I got to your name, and I looked at Kramer. I said, "Do you remember Mrs. Kidd?" And he remembered walking in and taking, you had a long dress on and reaching down. You were sitting down and taking your dress and making it go up like a parachute. Probably not the best thing. That's his mother's influence.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to say, just that, I can't really say any kind of, I got my mask on and it's, I don't know, it's, my head says retire. And, I'm not to retire, but my body says retire. So, I'm not really retiring too much. I started in 1974 with a boy
then next we have Stacy Remley. She has 12 years in. I know she is at Mound right now. Have you been there the whole time, Stacy? Yeah.
Substitute for a while, thank you, and just moved around military, taught in Utah, so I know, just thanking you, my Missouri State Schools for letting me finish my career here, because being in and knowing I was finished and I couldn't get hired, and I just think that I just appreciate it. It's been great, Mountain is a great place to work.
Right, next we have Vicki Schoenfield. And Vicki has 34 years as a teacher. I know right now you're at Bear School, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, actually, I taught in the Vandalia School District for 2 years, and I worked at the day camp here in Miamisburg, and I worked with Ron Snell, whom a lot of you know, and he said, oh, you should come to Miamisburg, they're hiring a lot of people, and I thought, well, that's great, because Vandalia was not, they were a smaller district and closing schools, so I said, I'm gonna do it. And then the next day, Ron said, no, I was not supposed to tell you that, my wife got really mad at me for telling you that, because you're the competition, but we hired her on the same day along with, it seemed like 20 other people, some of whom might be standing here, but anyway. So, and then I came to Bayer, and I never left Bayer, I love Bayer, so, a long time. And a lot of people in this room have been my principal. Well, it'd be great. So, it's been great, love it, Bayer.
And then next we have Marty Schartz. Marty's not here. Okay, she was a counselor and a teacher for 31 years. And so she was at a lot of different buildings. And then next we have, so thank you, Marty. Last time I saw her, she was teaching a social emotional lesson out at Bauer School. So very cool. Next we have Lynn Shaw. Is Lynn here?
She is not.
Okay, Lynn has 30 years experience, and these are all the jobs she's done. She's a playground assistant, an instructional assistant, a monitor, an educational assistant, a special ed preschool assistant, and a special ed assistant. So thank you, Lynn, for all your support and help for children. And next we have Susan Strom. Is she here? Okay. And Susan has 18 years experience, and she's finishing up as a high school counselor.
I work every minute, in the high school. This is my 40th year in total, and it is true that you blink and they're gone, the years are gone. So we tell the young people to cherish every year.
Then next we have Deborah Terrell. I hope I pronounced it right. Terrell, I'm sorry. Deborah Terrell. Sorry about that. And she has 20 years as a teacher. She also has taught reading recovery, or currently teaches reading recovery.
We were having a kindergarten,
Okay.
and then also about second. Mimesburg has been wonderful to me, both the district and the kids. We love the work here, and we love all the teachers here in the district too, so it's been a good to us. Thank you.
And then last we have David Young. And David has 33 years experience. As long as I've known, he's been in 6th grade, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, Robin and I started the same year now, and she started in 4th, Lola taught 4th, and Lola's taught 6th.
David, I gotta say, David was one of my students years ago. And you know how he got up and was a little honorary when he got up? He hadn't changed a bit in all those years.
just want to say thank you all for your service to Miamisburg schools. 400 years is hard to replace that experience and that service that you have given us, so thank you. But you are going to love retirement.
Yeah.
Sharon, you're absolutely right. To try to replace any one of these individuals in 440 years is can't be replaced. So anytime that you can retire on your terms when you want to retire and enjoy life, doing the things that you want to do, you've impacted our community, you've impacted our students. Now it's time to go and impact yourself and enjoy life to the fullest of your ability. So congratulations to each and every one of you, and I wish you the best in retirement.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Now I gotta get all of you in a picture. I'm gonna hide behind you, come up here. You'll get kind of in front of Bev. Still don't. Can I move out of the way? Stacy, can you step forward a little and let Vicki,
There you go.
School class pictures here. Stagger. Let's see. Debbie, can you get in front of Karen and Robin, just in between? See? Karen, move out. Jill, I might have been your left. David's moved. All right. Happy retirement. Yay.
And retirees, feel free to leave. We know you have to teach tomorrow.
Mass exodus.
How much? 3-2?
They were good enough for me. They were good enough for me. We would have went to the Final Four state. And we did it with Brazil. We were the bear too.
Other game against Hey, Laura.
Yep. He's around 90. He's around 90. sucks to get in. He did it right there.
Yeah.
He did it right there.
Yeah. All right.
We wouldn't want to stay up here. We was,
Okay, we'll go ahead and do the roll call.
Major social distancing.
Yeah.
Mr. Amsler,
Yes,
Mr.
absolutely.
Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine,
yes.
Mrs. Neese,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel.
Yes.
Okay, next we have some board discussions. And we'll start with, I guess it's still a little noisy, wait.
It's all right.
Okay, the MHS Career Education Program, and Stacy Moore, Bob Newbauer, and Amy Elsas will present.
I scoot over. Sorry. I'm going to just give a brief introduction, and then I'm going to let Amy and Bob steal the show. But everybody is pretty aware of the Business Advisory Council that we started a few years ago and the data that we've been looking at and trying to prepare our students better for after high school, giving them career awareness, exploration, experiences, and opening their eyes to the different opportunities that are out there after high school, whether they go to college and then onto a career, whether they go right into the workforce, military, trade school. Not everybody has to walk out the door and go to college. And so we have been working on different pathways and different opportunities for our students. And I will let Amy Elsas go first. She took on a new junior class this year, which was career and college planning. And she's also taking on a senior class next year. It's called Career Experiences. So it's very exciting to hear her talk about what the students have, experienced this year and what she has planned for next year. And then Bob will take it, and you guys can go to the podium. Bob will then explain some of the exciting things he has done with our students and some opportunities he's gotten for certain groups of students and what is coming next.
Okay, so are you able to pull up, or am I able to pull this
I
up?
have Abigail right here.
Wonderful, thank you. So my name's Amy Elsas, and as Stacy said, I have taken on this junior level class, and I could talk for hours about it because I think it is a crucial class that is much missed, or much needed, I should say, at the high school. So this year is the first year I taught it. It's unique because I came into it. We, of course, then went hybrid, and then we went remote, and so I'm still ironing out some of the kinks, but there's 3 parts to it. The first part is ACT prep, and that's been really successful thus far. The second part is real-life hands-on experience. So we look at things like buying cars, budgeting, paying back student loans. They actually play a game where they act as an Uber driver to see if they can make it in a gig career. And then the third part is the part that I have up here, and that is what ends up being their final. And it is a culmination of all the things that they do over the semester, but it is a digital portfolio. And the intent of it is, it actually serves several purposes. But one is so that they have at their fingertips documents that they would need post-high school or even as a senior as they enter the workforce. So this is Abigail Layton. She was in my fall class. We haven't finished up our spring classes yet. So it has 3 tabs, if you will. It's done on Google Sites, so it's very user-friendly. The first one starts out just introducing who she is, and this is something she could share with her potential employer or a teacher or at her college. The second one is really the heart of the class. This is the Careers tab. So they highlight what they would like to do, and it doesn't have to be as specific as hers. She's been pretty dead set on being an elementary school teacher. Some of the students don't know, so they leave those open or sort of vague, things like I want to go to college, or I want to go into the military, or I would like to work as a mechanic. And then there are resources that we've embedded into the Google site. So we work on things like a cover letter. And I tell them very specifically that the cover letter is not going to be the last cover letter they write, but rather these are the bones that they can then update as they get older and they gain more experience and they can target a specific job, but then they have it. So it's a skill that they're working on. They don't go into a job expecting a cover letter and not knowing what that is. There's also a resume, and again, this has been a struggle because their resumes are very sparse. They don't have career experience, so we talk about how to target or highlight skills if they volunteered, if they mowed their neighbors' yards, and so forth. But again, sorry about this. If you're logged in as me, I have access to all of it. So if you were logged in as me, you'd see these wonderful resumes and cover letters. And so anyways, we talk about how they can highlight skills that, instead of saying I mowed grass, they can say I worked on machinery, getting things started and finished at the end of each day. They do, as also part of the portfolio, a video interview. Somebody asks them a series of questions and they videotape themselves, and then they grade themselves. They look at if they use their hands a lot, like I do, or if they make eye contact, but skills that they'll take with them after high school. And then I think probably the most important are things like letters of recommendation. So as a high school teacher, I get a lot of requests for letters of recommendation, and sometimes they just show up in my email from Common App. And so we work on how to properly address an email, how to ask for a letter of recommendation, what you need to embed in that request. So if you're asking for a letter of recommendation for a scholarship, you would want to highlight your academic achievements. If you're asking for a letter of recommendation for a job, you would want to highlight some of your job achievements and so forth. So we are working on just sort of putting together resources for the students, because what I've noticed, or what I hope to help prevent, is that once they graduate from high school and they go out, they try their hand in college and maybe it doesn't work, and those resources that we've given them for 4 years or 8 years are no longer there. So this portfolio is just a really small attempt at trying to keep those resources at their fingertips. The college tab is a little more sparse because, as I said, we were remote part of the year or part of the semester, but my hope is to have Common App links. Scholarships, we do scholarship research, so they can look at scholarships and have those embedded. So again, they can go back to this portfolio, and they can, if they're trying to fill out FAFSA forms or some of these really challenging, long, lengthy requirements that they need to get into college, they can go back and find those. And so that's the goal. The senior level class then is hopefully going to expand on this portfolio. So having taught the junior level and then moving on to the senior level, my hope is that we can take this portfolio, add to it as they job shadow, and I'll let Bob talk a little bit more about that, but as they have some experiences, they get more letters of recommendation, we can embed them into this. So it's a one-stop shop, if you will. They can print things off if they need to, but they have access to it pretty handedly. So, but like I said, I could talk about this for hours. So if you guys want to pull up a chair, or so I'll let Bob then talk about the senior level class, and then if you have any questions, by all means.
So I've gotten a chance to work with Amy and Stacy and Michael Black on helping create this next level class. Really where I come in on that part of it is just making connections with some of the local businesses we already have some connections with. So for example, this year, Avery Dennison, we took some seniors on a tour of Avery Dennison. Some of those were interested in, most of those who went on that tour had no idea what they wanted to do after high school. So we were working with them. 2 of those students are now going to be starting there, one in June and one in July with a full-time position. We've made those same partnerships with Dayton Progress, who's actually looking to not only hire some of our graduates, but look to potentially hire some juniors this summer, so maybe kids can work, leave school a little bit early next year and come in, take their course, and then go on to a co-op or an internship with them. So we've taken the relationships we built with some of those companies, as well as Think Patent, and we sat down with them and are saying, how can we get more kids just experience rotating through things in your jobs in your company? People think manufacturing, maybe I don't want to do that. What they also don't realize is there's engineering there. It's not just working on, machine. There's engineering, there's finance, there's business, there's all levels of a business typically are housed somewhat within a manufacturing company. So we're using those partnerships to to let some of our seniors next year rotate through some job shadows. So the first few will be with our partners, and then if kids have specific interests, we can go ahead and later in the semester, hopefully find a particular job shadow for them as they go throughout their semester. All the while coming back into Amy's class, doing some follow-up feedback with Amy, just so we can keep them moving forward, find out what they like, what they don't like. It's really interesting to me, since doing the workforce development, is finding how many kids think they know what they want to do, and then when they step foot in, they're like, this is not at all what I thought it was. So I think we're going to have some kids find things they really are interested in, they didn't realize they were interested in. I think we're going to have kids find that what they hoped and thought they would get out of a career, maybe not exactly what they think. But I'm really excited about not only the course giving students an opportunity, but to continue to build those internships. We've got more and more people wanting to partner and offer apprenticeships right out of high school. We've got 2 students this year graduating. They're going off to an electric lineman program. So it's just, we're finding each year more and more opportunities to partner with apprenticeships, partner with local business. And I think it's really giving kids more and more of a choice. And as we push that younger and younger, we can expand that even further and get them really exploring at that middle school age. So when they get to high school, we can use some of the assessments they're doing in their classes to really refine and get them focused on a plan.
Bob, couple questions in
Sure.
regards to that. So you said you used Think Patent and Avery Dennison. How did you reach out to them? Is that through the partnership? I know
Dayton Progress, Think Patent, and Avery Dennis were all part of that Business Advisory Council.
Okay.
So we made connections through there.
I know, and this was before COVID, I know we had the meetings for the Mimesburg Merchants Association, and they would meet down at the BOM, but since COVID, they might have started back up. I didn't know if that was a resource in regards to getting into other businesses through Mimesburg.
Absolutely.
The other follow-up question on that, I know we do career day in the 8th grade. Listening to how detailed, as Amy was talking and then everything else, and it's probably a discussion for a later time, but is that as effective at the 8th grade, or should we possibly push that back on that career day and not do that so early? Because it seems like maybe those students, we come in because I know Jen Hawkey calls me and I go in and talk, but is it effective, or is that something maybe we need to push back maybe to the freshman level going into a program, something like that at the high school?
The research is showing, honestly, the earlier we can talk about careers, the better. So
Okay.
we're going to have different levels of that. And even if they go to multiple career days throughout their time at Miamisburg, that's probably their best option, because they'll continue to get exposed to new things. Their interests will change along the way.
Okay.
So I think whatever's being done at the middle school can just be enhanced at the high school. We
Right.
had a career fair planned, and then right before COVID, and then COVID kind of shut that down. But this year, several of our students participated in virtual career fairs through our partnership with Montgomery County ESC. They did a great job putting things together, from manufacturing week to trades week to in-demand jobs week. We had students that participated in the healthcare week. So as things start opening up, I think we'll have more and more hands-on opportunities, but we'll still have the flexibility of doing some of the virtual as well.
Okay.
Okay, Amy,
My hand up
yes,
again.
you have your
No,
hand.
I was just gonna say that we had, a career fair planned, and then it was set, we had the date set, we had spent a lot of time getting it organized and everybody involved, and then COVID shut that down. So we're hoping to get that back, with our junior, senior level students, obviously not this year, but in the future for sure. So, but Bob, on that.
So to address Chris, the senior class, we hope to grow. So with it being the first year, and actually we had quite a few students sign up, we got to see how it works. You know, so if we're going to have kids out 9th and 10th period every day, and we only have Amy, and we have kids at Dayton Progress, so the goal is to split them into 3 groups, and they'll visit so many days at Dayton Progress, and they're working on what they would do with them while they're there in Avery Dennison. So we wanted to kind of start small with our partners that can provide a lot of opportunities, so we can see how it works, and Amy can, and Tim has experience to navigate kids while they're out there. Michael and Bob and I are going to also help go out and visit. And then our plan is hopefully to expand that and include more partnerships and more businesses as we can see how it's managed. And then you mentioned the 8th grade career day. The plan was actually to start doing that even in the fall and doing it more of a hands-on, not just kind of a sit and get. But we also then in 7th grade last year, in the 1920 school year, had a career adventure day with Dayton Metro Library. And our 7th grade teacher said it was probably the best field trip they've ever had. We took the kids out there half in the morning, half in the afternoon. They picked 3 areas. They did hands-on. They were building robots. They were flying drones. It was great. So like Bob said, we're trying to at least make them aware of what's out there early so they can start exploring. I mean, we know everybody changes even in college, your thought. And we could go on for hours of what we've done and what my big vision and dream is. So I'd be happy to sit down and talk with anybody about more, and Amy and Bob about what our plans are, and trying to revive the Business Advisory Council and bringing those people back in and adding to our partnerships.
Would any of you like to say anything about what you've learned and accomplished this year?
They're going
Those are the 8th grade stems, right? Yeah. Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Bob,
you.
Amy, Stacy. I mean, you're right. I think it's in the fact of, and Joe and I was just talking before the meeting, you know, it's providing the kids with the opportunity. And we're in such a great area with Montgomery County, going up there to do more of the hands-on so they're ready when they graduate, you know, or providing different aspects or avenues even from the high school. So that's why I was kind of thinking. I've got a lieutenant sitting in the rack row that I may utilize in the future. He's a good talker and got a deep voice, and maybe I'll recruit him to go up to the high school and do some talking. So.
There you go. Yeah, and I mean, the big thing too for us is awareness. Our kids know of the big jobs, teacher, lawyer, doctor, firefighter, and they know what their family does for a living, and they know what their friends' parents do. So trying to open their eyes to different things. And I joke with Amy all the time, because Amy spent a whole year with the Business Advisory Council of Montgomery County and going out and visiting different places and different jobs, and thank God she had enough years here as a teacher, or she might have taken up some opportunities out there. Because she was like, I didn't, going out to Community Blood Center, and she's like, I didn't know all this was out here. So just trying to open up the eyes.
Good.
Well, to add just very quickly, because the other thing I try and tell the kids is that most of these places will pay for their college or their training, and so if they can get into them, and they're great jobs, and then they don't have that college debt that we've tried so hard to work on paying off in our simulations, because that haunts them forever. So most of the businesses we've talked to have some sort of tuition reimbursement program, and that's a fabulous tool for them coming out of high school.
It's great
Thanks.
for-
Very informative.
yeah, it's great for the kids to have choices and know what those choices are.
Did you have something?
We need to go on to, yeah. Oh,
I
were
saw
you
you
going to say
raise-
something?
I just wanted to say,
Okay.
the discussion about the 7th and 8th graders, that is the time to really start to plant the seeds. We have found that at CTC, we have schools approaching us to start discussions at 7th and 8th grade. We do summer groups, 7th and 8th graders. And if you have a situation like you're talking about, where you can work that year in the system, the earlier you can get to the kids,
we'll go on now to the Miamisburg Middle School STEM classes. We have Chris Johnson here and her students.
As Chris and her students approach, Chris Johnson started this STEM class at the middle school 6 years ago, and they just had their recent little carnival ride presentation, so I decided they needed to share them here.
Yeah, I'm not going to be that long. This is my second career. I started teaching when I was 36 years old, but my prior career was a computer programmer. So when I first started in Miamisburg, I was a 7th grade science and language arts teacher, and then I moved to just teaching 8th grade science. When I found out that there was a specialist position open, I kind of proposed this class, and we mostly focus on automation and robotics. So we teach the kids how to program and how to build things, which was scary for me because I knew nothing about mechanics. Like doing anything car-worthy or anything like that is my husband's job. Even filling my tank up with gas, I'm like, hey, by the way. But anyways, so I keep telling the kids, if I can do this, they could do it, and try to encourage the girls especially. But what we had to do is we challenged them. They know not much about mechanisms when you guys started. They know a little bit about programming. We're all looking at each other like, ooh, that's what you look like without a mask. But anyway, so they had to learn about mechanisms, and we built a dragster and had dragster races, double elimination tournament, and that was a lot of fun. And then their second big project has been a carnival ride. So they had to connect to a motor, 2 different mechanisms that work together. It's called a compound mechanism. And then they had to make a carnival ride. So something, we proposed it for the Miamisburg Spring Fling. Like 2 years ago, we actually had the Spring Fling committee head chair people come in because they were actually former students of mine who are now married. So they came in and they helped us judge the project, which was really cool, but we haven't been able to do that last spring or this spring, so we had teachers and administrators come in and judge. But their carnival ride had to have something moving on it, the bigger the better, and they had to decorate it, and then they had to program it. And we'll let them tell you about their project. So we're just going to show a video and maybe a couple pictures, and they can just tell you real quick. I told them it'd be really quick about it, but if you guys have questions, I'm sure they'd be happy to answer. Girls first. The boys decided girls first. They're doing the rodeo.
Okay, I'll start with the picture.
So a lot of their mechanisms are underneath, like behind the decorations. So. Okay.
See it in action.
The movement.
It's going awful fast. You doing Dramamine or anything?
So tell them about what mechanisms you used and a little bit about how it works.
So underneath the flaps of green paper, there's a mechanism, the chain drive, and then behind the sign, there's there's a cam and follower. The sign's on a cam and follower, and then where the barn is, there's a bevel gear, which connects to the chain drive and turns the actual carousel. So, and then the sign moves on the cam and follower, which moves up and down.
Did you know anything about that before you started this class?
No.
Do you feel more comfortable now in the class now that you've done all this?
Yes.
Right, and Jaina.
So how,
This is Jaina and Grace.
oh wait, oh wait.
I developed a program on an app called Mvctc, which already has all of the initial coding and if-else statements. So I put if-else statements together and greater than, less than symbols to program a potentiometer to move the carousel within 3 different speeds, depending on how much you turn the potentiometer.
So the potentiometer is like a dial. So we wanted it to run slow so you can let passengers on, and then get going faster for the thrill of the ride, and then slow it down again to let people off.
And how much time did you have to work on this each day? and only work on it in class?
Yeah. Sometimes during other periods such as advisory, which are free kind of study hall periods that happen in the middle of the day before lunch.
So we had 12 days, is what they got to brainstorm, come up with it, present it, and then.
Oh.
Good job.
Very good.
Mrs. Johnson, were you guys able to go out to any of the manufacturing places for the robotics and stuff this year? No? That's a shame, because that's a good learning experience for them also.
Once a year we go to Monoman Robotics, which is Yakisawa, and that's really cool. But in the spring we can't go because it's during testing. But obviously we haven't been able to go for 2 years now. So this is Kyle and Ethan.
Okay, so I used a bevel gear that went to a chain drive, which moved the whole ride in a circular motion, 3 different speeds. He was the coder, I was the designer and task manager. This is the Sherman treads. We couldn't really we had like restrictions on our decorations and stuff, but we kind of dealt with what we had, stuff like that.
Running some army stuff. I said no guns.
Yeah.
Can you show the video?
Okay, yeah, that's one of our problems. Our sign was very slow moving, and it kind of, affected the judging, but it turns out we won and stuff like that. Yeah, I know. Anyways, any questions?
Anything about the programming?
Oh, the programming. He did the programming. There's one fault about the programming, in that the sign. Every time it got like all the way to the top, it would just keep going. So we should have put like a reverse or something in it.
And it almost bent the shaft completely.
Yeah. Last minute, she told us to put like, what was it, like what are those like circles that lock onto axles, not axle shafts? Shaft color on it, because our sign kept like wanting to go out of the motor. And it was like so annoying. We were just like doing different things and stuff like that, and it just wasn't working. Last minute, she said, "Oh, you forgot something." And I was like, "What?" And she said, "Shaft color," and we put it there, and it worked. So.
It's pretty amazing that they can get these projects done, and I think every project worked to a degree this year, which is amazing. But they only get 12 days. They talk about the Dyson vacuum cleaner, 5,000 trials before they actually put it out. They get 12 days, and as many retries as they can fit in those 12 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the deadline? Is it stressful?
We had it pretty much all down. Yeah, the sign was like a big one. Yeah, he was working like day to day on the coding and stuff. Some, like it would work, and then the dial would turn. Oh yeah, we used the dial, by the way. Sorry, I mentioned that. We would turn a dial and it would control the speed of it, and we would turn it to a certain speed and it just didn't do anything. So that's one of our buggers. It's trial and error.
The reason why I asked you guys when you were sitting over here a little bit ago, I didn't know whether you had gone to the manufacturing or not, but that I went with them out there, gosh, a few years ago. It was probably 6 years ago, maybe, and it's such a great learning experience to be in there and watch these engineers and these professionals, and they treated the kids like they were just fabulous. I mean, they loved on the kids, and I just felt like I wanted you to say something about that, but obviously you didn't get to do it this year, so that was my fault. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Mrs. Johnson and your
Thank you.
students. Very
Good job,
cool.
guys and
Very
gals.
cool. Yeah. And then, so next we have our 5-year forecast update by Ms. Hegaman.
Your preference, you want me to stay here or go over there? Which is better for you guys?
Get up.
Oh, man, Mr. Tovine. You know, I'm better in a sitting position, but we'll do it this way.
I think they were having issues.
Those are hard things to follow.
You've looked at it.
So when you're trying to talk about money, so it's May, which means we have to do our 5-year forecast. We have to update it every November and May with whatever we know to be true right now. I just want to reiterate that this is it is a fluid document. It will change and probably has already changed before I put it together to have it presented to you this evening. So as you know, we have to make certain assumptions when I put the 5-year forecast together. And this is just a list of those assumptions. Property taxes has been slow this year, as you know. Everything's sort of been delayed with COVID, and we haven't gotten all our payments in a timely fashion. And I was a little concerned because we were about 2% lower in collections than we had been in the past, but it looks like we're right back up to where we had been in the past. Now we're up to 99%. We are seeing a lot of complaints come through to lower valuations for businesses because they were hit sort of hard with COVID, so we've got to keep a close eye on that. But for right now, we're going to just keep the assumption at 99% of what we've already, of what our anticipated collections are, unless we hear anything big, so.
Can I interrupt you right on that? Because you
Sure.
said something that I've been following and I don't know the answer to.
I may not either, but we'll give it a shot.
And I don't know if anybody does right now, but they, when I say they, the government, if a business filed for some of the government funding because the business was not making as much money as it had the previous year or two, and do you know, is that money, was there taxes supposed to be collected on that money that the government paid out, do you know?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I don't know that for a fact. I'd have to look into that one. I'm not sure.
That'd be a big chunk of money.
Yeah. They're just hoping to keep them afloat, but we're talking property values and
Right.
property taxes. So, yeah, I was concerned because, as you know, first half collections came in a little slower than expected, and we were down 1.8 to 2%. So we're just keeping a close eye on that. I will say, final settlements didn't come in until the first week of May, which is, way later than expected, and we just got our manufactured home taxes this week. And usually we get all of those in February or March at the latest first week of April. So it's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride in my office, and I'm not a big fan of the roller coaster rides, but we just sort of have to make it work. So we're just keeping a close eye on that. So right now, one of the other assumptions is that we're going to go back up to our funding levels from fiscal year 19. We got a hit and had $968,000 taken away in fiscal year 20, so that was last school year. Then he restored some of that money, gave it back to us, of $512,000, I think, in total for this year, which we're very grateful for. And then we're hoping that we at least go back up to fiscal year 19. We're about 35 to 36% funded by the state, so whatever they do, we have to keep a really close eye on, because it's going to have a material effect on what we do here as a district. We've got the Austin Park interchange TIF that we're still looking at doing a new compensation agreement. That's come back up again, so that'll have an effect on what we do in the 5-year. And then, of course, we're assuming full renewal of both our emergency and our substitute emergency levies. This is just a graph of what happens when the emergency levies expire and cash goes down. So as you can see, we never like the trend to be downward. So it's very important that we pass those levies as they come up, those renewals. And then this is just another, if you see the green bars is green part of the bar chart is where the levies are expiring and when, and how much money those levies represent. These are our two levies that I've been talking about as far as what needs to be renewed. The $6,775,000 emergency levy we renewed in November 2017 for 5 years, so we need to renew that before December 2023. You can go on the ballot in November 2022, or you can, for renewal, or you can do it in November 2023. And then the substitute emergency levy collections until December 2025, because we passed that in 2019. As we've talked sort of briefly before, the emergency levy, it would be my recommendation that when we go back on the ballot, we make that a substitute emergency levy, because that picks up new buildings as they're added, instead of just being fixed at that amount. So it does have a tendency to grow. So this sort of is a graphic of what I was explaining earlier. House Bill 166 froze funding at fiscal year 19 levels for 20 and 21 out of this current biennium budget. Then COVID struck, and so they cut us back. And so the total cut was 1.4 million combined loss. So we're assuming 21 through 25, we at least go back up to that level in fiscal year 19. So if we get more, that will have an effect, and if we get less, that will have an effect. So let me know if you have any questions. Just two tips. Dayton Mall is actually part of the JED, but those are our estimates of what we'll receive every year, so that's a big chunk of other revenue for the district. We just had our first meeting, May 12th, to discuss the new compensation agreement, so we're going to start that ball rolling. I know we've been rolling that ball for at least 6 years since I've been here, and I think it was 4 years prior to that, so we'll see if we can come up with a new compensation agreement that makes all parties happy. So,
Tina, are they up to date on the payments to
yes,
us?
mm-hmm. Yes, all deferred compensation, all back payments have been made and paid in full, so we're starting off with a clean slate, so.
Been a long, hard process, hasn't it?
It has been, and that compensation agreement that we currently have has all those strings and waterfall provisions and cross guarantees, and took a lot to learn and understand. So anything easier than that would be good for the district and anyone else, I think. So this is just a bar graph or pie chart of our revenues, and as I said, our local revenues are about 64.1%. So our community really supports the district. It's our property taxes, what we collect from the community. And then the other big contributor, of course, is the state, 35.9. So I spend I spend a lot of my time watching property taxes, where we're at, where the valuations are, and we keep an eye on where we're at as far as state funding is concerned, because those two things will have a material effect, will affect us either in a good way or a bad way. So we have to keep an eye on that. So this is just a list of things that I would consider challenges or obstacles that we have to look at as far as operating revenue is concerned. We talked a little bit about House Bill 166. The other thing is the restricted student wellness and success money. We did receive that this current biennium, so we received it for last year and this year. They didn't cut our student wellness and success money when they did the cuts for COVID, so that's good. Now we've got a new biennium budget coming up for 22 and 23. So the governor's proposal included student wellness and success money, which it increased that amount, which is great. But then when the House looked at it, they took the student wellness and success money away and proposed the fair funding formula. And they're wrapping those monies into the fair school funding formula. So now it's sitting with the Senate, which we've talked about in the past. So once that's done, we'll have to take a look at it and see where we are at financially with the new funding formula or with the student wellness and success money. We're still all waited. We're all waiting. Hopefully they'll have something decided by June 30th, which is the deadline date. So, whatever they decide and whatever the biennium budget is, we will have to make an update to the forecast in October, November.
And the student success and wellness money, there are strings attached to it.
Oh, yes,
correct?
you have to partner with 2 organizations. Now, it was 1, but we have to partner with 2. I think we're gonna still partner with Montgomery County ESC and South Community, to provide, social and emotional learning, all those things that Katie's very well versed in, and I'm not so much, but, but to provide all those services for those students, right? You
that
can pick
doesn't
up
help
current services, but
But it doesn't help with the day-to-day operation.
it does not. It does a little because we can pick up current services because we are doing a lot of that now, but it doesn't have a huge impact, no. But every little bit helps. So, as I say, we're going to wait and see what the state budget tells us for fiscal year 23, 22, and 23. Then expenditure assumptions. We have 4 areas that we spend money. It's salaries, benefits, purchase services, and supplies. That's every school district in the state of Ohio. That's where we spend our money. And of course, the bulk of our money is going to go to salaries and benefits because that's what we do. We teach. We provide education. So that's a service. So that's where the bulk of our expenditures are going to be. Excuse me. So the next one is just a pie chart that shows what those expenditures are for fiscal year 21 currently, and 83% of that is salaries and benefits. The next one just shows our negative balances, even with renewals through fiscal year 25. I always tell people if I could get the last 2 years of the forecast exactly right, I wouldn't need a job because that would be very, very difficult to forecast that far out. We've got 2 biennium budgets. We don't know what the legislators are going to do. So when you see a negative number in fiscal year 25, that doesn't make me, doesn't scare me, doesn't keep me up at night, shouldn't keep you up at night because there are so many things that could change that outlook. So we always just I always tell people concentrate on line 6.01 of the forecast. It just shows you what your trend is. Are you spending more than you're receiving? Is there something we need to fix there? So I'm not really concerned about 24 and 25 right now because that's so far into the future. And then last but not least, we've had positive cash flow since 2011. 2020, we did have a deficit, meaning that we were in the red when we ended the year, so thank goodness we had a savings account we were able to fall back on. And right now, line 6.01, as I mentioned a little earlier, does show that our trend is we're spending more than we're receiving. But this year is a perfect example of how things can change, because in November, we had a 3.2 proposed deficit spending, meaning we were going to spend $3 million of our savings account, which does keep a treasurer up at night. But it's now down to about 1.3, 1.4. And that's because the governor restored some funding we didn't know about. We've got, that we didn't know was going to happen back in November. We're thankful because that happened in February. Then we also got additional federal money. So that's great. We're happy for that. So that helped us reduce that. And so and we got a refund from Carl Keith's office for quite a bit of money that we didn't expect. So those kind of things will change our forecast as we go along. So we just need to keep a watchful eye on all our revenue areas, on our spending, look at ways to continue to streamline our processes, wait to hear what's going on with House Bill 110, the new budget. I know that Ann has reached out to Niraj and others have as well, asking for his support on the fair funding model, because we haven't had really a funding model in a long time. We've been frozen or capped, and we haven't really been paid based upon kids or any kind of calculation. So it would be nice to have something that we could go, well, this is how we get, how our funding is given to us. So, also we have ESSER round 2. I keep wanting to say ESSER, but ESSER round 2 and 3. Those are federal dollars. Round 2 is 3.9. We're going to use that to help us pick up some, benefits and salaries, so we can offset that negative spend, that negative trend for next year. So that's the 3.9. ESSER 3 is 8.8 million. I put a B in there.
I like
didn't
that
I?
first number
Boy,
better.
woo! Wouldn't it be nice? I don't know if we could budget that much, but so 8.8 million. There's a 20% set aside requirement for that. So there's a lot. These are federal funds. So with federal funds comes a lot of strings, a lot of hoops, a lot of bobbing and weaving that Stacy and everyone else has to do. Mostly Stacy, because she has to write the plan. But so.
Mrs. Excuse me. You said it's about a $1.6 million set aside, basically.
8.8 million is what they've said that's our estimate. Right now, all that's in the application is still $1, right? We got $1. So until they actually put the application out there and put the number, that's when our estimate is 8.8 total, and I think the 20% is a little bit over 1.7.
Yeah, around 1.8, close enough.
Yeah,
But
1.8,
anyway,
you're right.
Is there stipulations that's put on that?
Yes. You have to use it towards your reading, your learning recovery. I always want to say reading recovery, but it's learning recovery plan. So whatever we're doing to extend the school year, to help fill the learning gaps, things of that nature. So we have to use that 20% on that. We're looking at, using that 20% to help us with the all-day kindergarten pilot, to see if we can have that last for more than 1 or 2 years, what we can do to make that sustainable for a while for the district. We're using it for, maybe tutors, additional tutors, after school programs. We're looking at all kinds of things and what we can do, what would be best for we have to have a public meeting and explain the plan, and we have to have all that loaded into the system and ready to go. So we've got lots of ideas going on.
Yeah, I kind of knew the answer to that, but I thought the public would probably see it better. It sounds like when you say set aside, it's almost like just sitting there doing nothing.
No, that's
far from
the
that.
amount that you have to spend on a certain area. So yeah, it has to be spent on certain initiatives. So the team's really been working on that together, and so hopefully we'll have a plan. When's our meeting? May 27th?
May 27th, we're all sitting down on our brain dump. Follow up on June 1st, and then hopefully be able to bring something to you in that next week or so.
Yes.
So,
Special board
Yeah.
meeting.
Good.
so
Good.
June 14th week or so.
I'll be out of town.
You need to-
Good.
so these programs we start up with this money, do we have to continue those after the money goes away?
No, there's not a requirement to continue them, no. We would like to, if they prove to be fruitful and good for the
And we
kids,
can
but
afford them.
yeah, we have to figure out a way to make that happen, yeah. So, right now, the need for a levy is not, we don't need a new levy. We don't need to go out and ask the community for new money. I think we've kicked that can, so to speak, down to fiscal year 2024. I mean, but that's not a long ways away. So we've got to use ESSER, round 2 and ESSER round 3 money very, very, very strategically. And how far can we push those dollars? And how far, what can we do that'll help the kids and further in the community? Because I think our community's been hit pretty hard with COVID. And so we don't want to put any additional stress on that. So we're very thankful, I say we, but I'm sure the rest of cabinet is as well, for those federal dollars. We're just trying to figure out how to meet all the requirements and jump through all the hoops right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Do you think, I was going to ask about the property taxes, the 99%. Do you think that's because the taxes went up, that we were able to meet that threshold? Just because I know because of COVID, there have been people that haven't been able to pay their taxes. So
Right.
do you think, because just from talking to anyone that bought a house in the last 3 years, their taxes have gone up a lot.
Right, because we had they
Yeah.
had the reevaluations done,
Do you think
yeah.
that is what helped it reach that threshold?
I think so. I mean, it went up higher than I expected it to. So, yeah, I think that's part of it, you know. So, it's hard to really estimate exactly why, but 99% is a pretty high collection rate. But we've been very lucky. In the 5.5, 6 years that I've been here with Miamisburg, we've had high collection percentages. That's why when I saw 1.8, I was sort of like, you know, a little freaked out, because that is a little higher than we're accustomed to seeing. You know, usually when the Montgomery County Auditor's Office will estimate at 97.5 or 98%, and I usually estimate at 99% because that's what our collections have been. So I was a little frightened when we got the second half, but for our first half of the fiscal year, but second half taxes for the community that they had to pay because it was a little less than I expected, but I think we bumped right back up. So
Mrs.
hopefully-
Hegaman, since we're talking along these lines, you know, Ann's question was really a good question, and I'm sure that there's people out there in the public that have that same kind of question a lot of times when it comes about levies and money and all that. Would you consider maybe in the next month or two, next one, you know, meetings away, to actually just kind of explain to the public, because I know there's a lot of people that do watch this on television, because they tell me they do. But I think that maybe if you explain what millage is, because, you know, just because there's more money coming in because of the tax, help me, the
Evaluations?
evaluations, okay, thank you. When the evaluation goes up, it doesn't necessarily mean the school's getting more money,
No, that's correct. It doesn't. But
unless it's a substitute levy.
yes, right.
where it gets
Substitute
tricky.
levies are different. But yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
my favorite thing, Mr. Tovine, getting up here and talking.
Well, I know that, but
no,
I think that
no.
needs to be known, because
No,
you know,
I
all of a
agree.
sudden,
Yeah.
people think that the school's really getting rich when this happens, and it's not true.
No.
You know, when the valuations go up, appraisal go up.
Right. Yeah, I'd be happy to explain millages and how the 20 mil floor works and what the 20 mil floor even means. What do people like me mean when they say deficit spending and all those wonderful words? Yeah, be happy to do that.
Okay, thank
So
you.
you let me know and I'll put something together.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have the first reading of the board policy. It's just the policy on therapy animals. So it's our first reading, and just go on then to the consent. Do we have any questions about that? The first reading on the therapy animals?
I think our superintendent explained it pretty well last time.
Did you want to say anything, Dr. Blessing?
I mean, I worked with our council to kind of convert what you all saw last month to board policies.
Okay.
If all goes well, we want to look possibly to approve it next month, and in the fall, if the new teachers want to step up and give the program a try, we're looking forward to supporting them.
Okay, great.
What the entrance currently right now is what, maybe one or two?
Possibly. I think one is actively seeking and hasn't even applied for a mini grant.
Okay.
And then that's up to us.
All right, we'll go on to the consent agenda. And first, we have approval of overnight extended student trips. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the overnight extended student trips. Dave Cookson, postseason softball tourney. Laura Stafford, Akron, Ohio, June 2nd through 3rd, 2021. Student trip approved March 18th, 2021. Allison Janes, girls basketball camp. Brooke Adams, University of Findlay in Findlay, Ohio. John Brackman, well, all these people are the same thing. John Brackman, Danny Norman, and Riley Parkhurst on June 14th through the 15th, 2021. Sorry, okay. Then next on the agenda, on the consent agenda, oh wait, there's more. And then Tim Freeze, Connor Brown, and Chris Johnson, boys basketball camp at Capital University, Columbus, Ohio, June 25th through 26th, 2021. Next, we have authorization for 2021-22 membership in Ohio High School Athletics Association. Whereas Mimesburg City Schools of 540 East Park Avenue, Montgomery County, Ohio, has satisfied all the requirements for membership in the Ohio High School Athletic Association, a voluntary, unincorporated, not-for-profit association. And whereas the Board of Education Governing Board and its administration desire for the schools with one or more grades at the 7 to 12 grade level under their jurisdiction to be voluntary members of the OHSAA. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education Governing Board that Miamisburg Middle School and Miamisburg High School do hereby voluntarily renew membership in the OHSAA, and that in doing so, the Constitution, bylaws, regulations, and business rules of the OHSAA are hereby adopted by this Board of Education as and for its own minimum student-athlete eligibility requirements. Notwithstanding the foregoing, the Board reserves the right to raise the student-athlete eligibility standards, my mouth is getting so dry, standards as it deems appropriate for the schools and students under its jurisdiction. And be it further resolved that the schools under this board's jurisdiction agree to conduct their athletic programs in accordance with the Constitution, bylaws, regulations, business rules, interpretations, and decisions of the OHSAA, and cooperate fully and timely with the Executive Director's Office of the OHSAA in all matters related to the interscholastic athletic programs of the schools. Furthermore, the schools under this board's jurisdiction shall be the primary enforcers of the OHSAA Constitution, bylaws, regulations, business rules, and the interpretations and rulings rendered by the Executive Director's Office. The administrative heads of these schools understand that failure to discharge the duty of primary enforcement may result in fines, removal from tournaments, suspension from membership, and or such penalties as prescribed in bylaw 11, or is that 1-1? Okay, and new for the executive content, new for the 2021-22 school year, OHSAA will be charging fees for participation to each school district. Maximum annual fees are currently set at $1,300.
Is that currently being done now?
No.
So the fees are in relation to what?
To join and be members of Ohio High School Athletic Association, it's a new fee structure that they have proposed for this year, for this upcoming school year, sorry.
So if we vote no, and every other school district votes no, that we're not willing to pay the nonprofit Ohio High School Athletic Association money.
I don't know what would happen, Mr.
I'm
Lewis,
not
but.
directing at you, I'm directing at them if they're not here. No,
But I
mean,
understand, yes. We put that in the executive content for your information. So that's new this year, and I think because they had such a loss in revenue due to ticket sales. They've also changed the way that they're doing tournaments. It used to be that we could sell the tickets, collect the money, and then pay our people, and then submit a reconciliation to the Ohio High School Athletic Association with a check for any amounts that were over and above our expenses. Now we have to front the cost, the entire cost of the tournament, and then submit those costs to them because they're going to sell the tickets and retain that money. So they're doing business a little differently, and I'd like to think it's all COVID related. So, but just FYI for your information.
Okay.
But did not our athletic director participate in these conversations? I thought I had heard that.
I'd have to defer.
Well, I
to-
think you can participate in the discussions, but they're still going to,
They go to their
Yeah, makes
board.
sense.
and
you
their
know, they're
board-
gonna have their board and say, this is what we're doing, so.
I'm sorry that, I mean, that,
I understand.
But, okay, going off what Tim said, if we say no to this and every other school says yes,
within
Where
our,
does that
yeah,
leave
our
us?
athletes can't compete
They
at the
can't
state level.
participate.
I was just
Right.
saying if every school district said no,
okay.
which is not gonna happen.
No, everybody's too scared to do that.
Everybody else could vote no, we could vote yes, and we'd have all state champions. Yes, $1,300 worth of state champions. I'm sorry, that just,
No, it is a new thing, you know,
Yeah.
so. And we don't know, I don't know, I shouldn't say we. Jason Shade and Jason Osborne will definitely know more than I do, but I don't know what that fee to us will be because we're competing at the middle school level and the high
Right.
school. That's why I just said the maximum amount is $1,300. It could be less than that. We don't know at this point.
thank you.
Yeah.
And that was not,
I get it. I get it. I appreciate your passion, Mr. Lewis.
Okay, next we go to the approval of class of 2021 graduates, Mimesburg High School. Michael Black, principal of Mimesburg High School, has submitted the attached class of 2021 diploma list. These students have been recommended for graduation pending satisfactory completion of all state and local requirements. And next we go to approval of instructional materials adoption. Okay, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the use of the following instructional materials. K through 5 science, mystery science, and the publisher's online program. 3rd to 5th science, True Fix by Scholastic. 3rd to 5th science, Ohio Interactive Science by Savaz. K through 6 music, Quaver Music, which is an online program. 3rd to 5th ELA, Scholastic Literacy World and Literacy Pro by Scholastic. Science 6th through 8th, Science Fusion by Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. Science 9, and then going down to Science 9 through 12, Biology Miller Levine by Savaz. Biology Honors, Miller Levine by Savaz. AP Biology, Campbell Biology AP Edition, Savaz. Chemistry, Inspire Chemistry, McGraw-Hill. Chemistry Honors, Advantage Chemistry. AP Chemistry, Advantage Chemistry. Environmental Science by Savaz. AP Environmental Science. Exploring Environmental Science for AP Miller and Spoolman by Sengage. How do you pronounce it? Sengage, okay. Physics by Experience Physics by Savaz. AP Physics, College Physics at Kina by Savaz. Anatomy and Anatomy, Hole's Essentials of Human Anatomy, Honors. Anatomy and Anatomy Honors, Hole's Essentials of Human Anatomy and Physiology, the high school edition, McGraw-Hill. Okay.
Going back to more of the textbook style now, or is this more not?
I will speak for 6 through 12, and then Amy can step up here. We are doing kind of the same thing we've done in the past, where if there are hard copies of the books, we just purchase enough that we keep in the class. We are going one-to-one. We just got to be able, with this being the first year, we just didn't know how that was going to go. In like the 6 through 8 Science Fusion, the books are actually student workbooks that they write in. But everything 6 through 12 has an online component that we get every student in online. Then the AP Chemistry and Chemistry Honors have student workbooks. And there's 2 sciences, the physical science and the zoology, that didn't adopt anything because they're building everything online with virtual labs and resources through there. So it's kind of a combo. But if there is a hard copy of a book, like a biology book, the Miller and Levine, we just get enough for the class to keep in there, but then they have access on the online.
I mean, technically, the only reason why I ask is because of traditionally, when we've been stretched, we can extend that out maybe a year or 2 or whatever the case may be. And I know when you have the access to the online, and the goal I know is the 1-1 technology and having access and all that. However, those costs with the online, if this is your termination date and we haven't re-upped, then we lose access.
That's
So
correct.
that's,
Amy and I have worked really hard on the textbook rotation and 5-year forecast. There were years when we came in, if we would have followed the same things, there were years that we needed a lot and years we would need a little. So we streamlined it so it's pretty consistent every year, textbook-wise, making sure our adoptions, we don't have like K-12 language arts and K-12 science at the same time. The thing with the online is your online offers you so much more than the textbooks do, especially in the science world with virtual labs and everything and simulations. So as much as, we can't extend the digital, and we were able, before this science adoption, the last one, our science textbooks at the middle school were 15 years old. So you could stretch them out, but do you want to stretch them out? And I think we have a good plan.
I think the plan works well. And I will tell you from the K-5 perspective, as Stacy referenced at the middle school, there are fewer and fewer hardbound textbooks, and it's mostly student work text that allows students to work right within the book. They can annotate and make notes, and their graphic organizers embedded within, so it becomes more of a consumable that is a complement to the digital component. We see that for both our language arts resources that are here for your review with Scholastic and with Ohio Interactive Science, that is the case.
I have a question. With us going to the online part, are we still doing hands-on with our science kids?
Oh, yeah. I can assure you that the Ohio Interactive Science comes with tubs of materials for teachers to use with their students, and we've already built in for the duration of the adoption ways to be able to replenish those kits for any of the materials that the Eagle Eyes and need to be used on an annual basis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and I think that you have to kind of remember too, anatomy, for example, it's not going to change much. Your body is your body, and that's kind of, the Hole's anatomy is kind of like the Bible of anatomy for high schools, and then when you go to college, it's Gray's anatomy because it's a little bit more in depth and has a lot more physiology in it. So some of the older books that we had, which were Holes, some of them were those just different versions, and the thing of it is they're so expensive, and like you're saying, you don't have to necessarily have every kid have one now because of the way that we're using technology and everything, but those books can help a lot of kids that, because people think, well, you got classroom editions that are there. Well, those kids, some teachers are, they're smart. They let those kids take those home, because they can learn a lot from those books too. But anyway, my point is, I'm sorry it took so long to say this, but the whole anatomies that were there in 1973, kids can still learn basically the same thing that they are out of the newer editions. So I always kept around. I got in trouble because I had stacks of books that I had in the back of the room that were, I wouldn't go back, because we're on a 5-year rotation. I think what you're talking about earlier, and like you said, it's kind of a waste of money to go on ahead and buy books that there's nothing really that new in there. but 5 years is about the, you're starting to get to the point to where those books are getting worn and all that too. But a lot of the data in there is not that much different.
And most our adoptions anymore are 6-year rotations. I will tell you science, other than Science Fusion, because it was a different situation, all of these science to get us on the cycle that we wanted to be on. These science adoptions are 8 years to get science off of another big one. And so then after that 8 year, it'll be 6 years because all the vendors now are doing 6 years. So.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, chemistry is kind of the same way. You mix chemicals up and they do the same thing regardless of which book you're using.
But I will say, Dale, anatomy may not have changed, but what I learned in high school biology is not what we're teaching today in biology.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, yeah, that's a little bit different. A little bit different there.
Okay, I make a motion, we adopt the agenda items A through D.
A second.
All right, so first by Angel, second by Lewis. And any more discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Neese,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes,
Mr. Toadvine,
Yes.
Mr. Amsler.
Yes.
Okay, next we're going to move to the Human Resources agenda items and approval of resolution to reemploy teaching employee. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following resolution. Whereas, resolution to reemploy teaching employee. Whereas Jenny Eaton was previously employed in a teaching position in the Mimesburg City School District, has previously retired with the state teacher retirement system, and desires to be reemployed in her prior position by the Board of Education of the Miamisburg City School District, effective August 1st, 2021, pursuant to the terms of employment contracts attached hereto as Exhibit A. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mimesburg City School District Board of Education as follows. Section 1, the board hereby reemploys Jenny Eaton as a teaching employee in accordance with the terms and conditions of the employment contract and release and waiver agreement, which are attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibits A and B respectively. Okay, it is found and determined that all formal action of the Board of Education concerning or related to the adoption of this resolution was adopted in an open meeting of this board, and all deliberations of this board that resulted in such formal action were adopted in meetings open to the public in compliance with all applicable requirements of the Ohio Revised Code. So,
I move for the approval of resolution to reemploy teaching employee Jenny Eaton.
Second.
all right. So Chris Amsler first and Tim Lewis second. And we will do the roll call then.
Mr. Toadvine,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Neese,
Yes.
Mr. Amsler,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel.
no. And I have to say, this is simply my concern about the whole retire-rehire process, and not in just our district, across the state. And Jenny, it has nothing to do with your teaching abilities. You are a strong, creative, talented, skilled teacher. So I just want you to know that.
Okay. So adopted this 20th day of May 2021. Certificate. The undersigned hereby certifies that the foregoing is a true and correct copy of a resolution adopted at a meeting held on the 20th day of May 2021 together with a true and correct extract from the minutes of said meeting to the extent pertinent to consideration and adoption of said resolution. So, we already did all that, right? That was, this
No.
was all just a little, do we do it again?
Yeah.
Flip over.
Okay. This part, right?
There.
So,
Because we already voted. Now you go on to that.
okay, but there was this other section.
Yeah,
here,
that
so
part.
We don't have to do that, okay.
No.
All right. All right, next we'll go to the approval of personnel reports, certificated and classified. It is recommended that the,
No.
no,
B.
We have
B.
to do B.
No, well, that's what I thought, yeah. So that's why I was confused. Okay,
Well, I'll move for the approval of retired certificated limited contract and release and waiver agreement.
okay.
I second.
Okay, that was confusing. Okay,
Mine's on the other page and yours is on the main page.
okay. So the first was by, yeah, that was different.
You can do a roll call, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay, who said
I
first
I
by
move-
Lewis?
Mr. Lewis moved and Mr.
Dale
Toadvine
seconded.
second.
Okay. And then
Roll call.
any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Angel?
No.
Mr. Toadvine?
Yes.
Mr. Amsler?
Yes.
Mrs. Neese?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
All right. Next, we go to the approval of personnel reports certificated and classified. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following personnel reports. Employment in the Mimesburg City School District is contingent upon the candidate submitting to and passing a BCII and FBI criminal record check-in in accordance with Ohio Revised Code and pre-employment drug screening in accordance with adopted board policies. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the personnel report, certificated and classified.
Second.
First by Angel, second by Lewis. Discussion? Okay, roll call?
Mr. Amsler?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine?
Yes.
Mrs. Neese?
Yes.
Mrs. Angel?
Yes.
Okay, next we go to the approval of personnel report, supplemental stipend, certificated, classified. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following personnel report, supplemental stipend, certificated, classified. Employment in the Mimesburg City School District is contingent upon the candidate submitting to and passing a BCII and FBI criminal record check in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code and pre-employment drug screening in accordance with adopted board policies. Do I have a motion?
I'll move for the approval of the personnel report, supplemental stipend, certificated and classified.
Second.
Okay, first by Lewis, second by Toadvine. Roll call?
Mrs. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mrs. Neese?
Yes.
Mr. Amsler?
Abstain.
Okay. Next we go to agreements and contracts. It is recommended, this is the approval for the transportation agreement with Miami Valley Career Technology Center. It is recommended by the superintendent, treasurer, CFO, and the director of business services to approve a transportation contract with Mvctc for the 2021-2022 school year as outlined in the attached agreement. Under the terms of the contract, Mimesburg City School District will transport Youth Connection students on behalf of Mvctc. Mimesburg City School District will be reimbursed in the amount of the actual cost to transport. Do I have a motion?
I move for the approval of the transportation agreement with the Miami Valley Career Technology Center.
Second.
That was a tie.
I'll give it to Sharon.
Okay. So first by Toadvine, second by Angel. Any questions? Mr. Gilbert, did you want to talk about that at all?
Standard agreement we've done with Mvctc for many years, and it's always worked, I think, for both of us, so it's a real plus. And we do get reimbursed actual costs, so it's not really.
We get a discount.
We'll talk.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Amsler,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes.
Mrs. Neese,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine.
Yes.
Okay, next we move on to the approval of the state fund group rating and unemployment services agreement with Sedgwick Managed Care of Ohio. It is recommended by the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, director of human resources, that the Board of Education approve agreement with Sedgwick MCO for workers' compensation and unemployment compensation services. Do I have a motion?
All right.
You don't want to read it?
I move for the approval of state, I move for the approval of state fund group rating and unemployment services agreement with Sedgwick Managed Care of Ohio, Sedgwick MCO.
Second.
I'll take that one.
Okay, so first by Toadvine, second by Amsler. All right, and would that be you, Mr. Holman?
So, Sedgwick does our workers' compensation, and so what we're going to do this year, instead of having a separate MCO, we're going to go ahead and move over to Sedgwick as well. We've been real pleased. We moved over with them last year. From Hunter, they're very thorough, and having both them and the MCO in the same company makes sense, and they do a good job. We've been pleased with them, so.
So you think it's easier communicating with them with that type of setup, and you get everything as quickly and.
It is. They're in the obviously same building and things like that, and in the bidding for the workers' comp is become more competitive over the last several years. So,
Good.
Roll call?
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Amsler,
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine,
Yes.
Mrs. Neese.
Yes. Okay, next we move on to the approval of the facility use agreement with Miami Valley Child Development Centers. It is recommended by the superintendent, treasurer, CFO, and the director of business services that the district enter into a facility lease agreement with the Miami Valley Child Development Center. Do I have a motion?
I move we adopt the agreement for a facilities lease agreement with Miami Valley Child Development Center.
Second.
Okay, first by Angel, second by Lewis.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Did you want to talk about that, Mrs. Dobson? or-
I can, or staff welcome to.
Okay.
It's for the lease of the space, and we're thrilled to be continuing our programming in our partnership with Head Start. I think their intention is to continue 2 half-day sections for 3 and 4-year-olds, and then having a full-day section that is designed as a pre-K class for children that will transition to kindergarten. So hopefully that'll all be back to more normal once we're on the other side of COVID. So that's pretty exciting.
Thanks. All right, roll call?
Mrs. Neese,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Amsler,
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine.
Yes.
Okay, next we move on to the approval of the high school roof replacement. It is recommended by the superintendent, treasurer, CFO, and director of business to award the high school roof replacement project to Duralast Roofing using the competitive bid, is it TIPS?
Yep.
Interlocal Purchasing System Contract 200201, which meets Miamisburg City School requirements. Total award of the project is $106,230 Do I have a motion?
I move for the approval of the high school roof replacement.
Second.
Okay, first by Amsler and second by Toadvine. Mr. Gilbert?
This is an area of roof at the high school we've been trying to manage for several years with some leaking problems, and so we're just at that point where it's time to replace that section. We've had a lot of success with Duralast roofs in our district, and we feel very comfortable with their quality of workmanship and also their warranties. So we feel it's a good fix for that portion of high school roof.
How many bids did we get on that?
This is through the TIPS agreement, so we utilize them as a consortium, and so they do bid it on an annual basis, and then they award based on pricing and things of that nature and quality. And so we utilize this TIPS agreement in this particular instance.
All right, roll call?
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine,
Yes.
Mrs. Neese,
Yes.
Mr. Amsler.
Yes.
Okay, next we move to the approval of the agreement between Montgomery County Educational Service Center and Miamisburg City Schools. The superintendent and treasurer, CFO, recommend that the Board of Education approve a service agreement between Montgomery County Educational Service Center and Miamisburg City Schools. Do I have a motion?
I'll move for the approval of agreement between Montgomery County Educational Service Center and Miamisburg City Schools.
Second.
Okay, first by Lewis, second by Amsler. Mrs. Lucas?
It's the master service agreement that we have with Montgomery County ESC each year for services that are provided to the district, various services, hearing impaired, learning center, just various services that we contract with Montgomery County.
Did the, like the social emotional employees, was that more, were they out of the money that is deducted from our state funding? Is that how we get those services?
Are you talking about the SEL consultant?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there, originally we were using success and wellness funds for that. I know it was something to, I've been able to answer about, they did flip it to the deduct.
Yeah, they took it out of the, it took a portion of it out of the foundation, but we were able to recode it to the state student wellness and success money. This agreement that you guys are approving this evening, we have to have a 2-year agreement with our ESC of choice. And this is their master agreement, their executive kind of agreement. We approved one last month, or you approved one. I don't approve anything, but last month that outlined all the services that were needed. This is just, we're committing to Montgomery County ESC services for 2 years. And then if we don't want to continue, we want to look to a different ESC, you have to do that every 2 years. So that's a new requirement. This year, Montgomery County ESC was a high functioning or high, so, that's a good thing. And I think they still are, but I haven't heard yet. So we have to do this agreement once every 2 years. Then you do a different agreement that outlines all the services that we pick. I know it gets confusing.
All right, roll call. Anybody else though? Any other questions?
I just think that the ESC is very valuable for us to be a part of over the years. I know I've learned a lot from them, going to some of their sessions and stuff that they have for board members, and a lot of things, legal things and all that. So I think that's very well time spent and money spent with them. And also, I think this year, Dr. Blessing, there's some special things I think that are going on with recovery, reading recovery or learning recovery and all that they're going to offer to our students too, right? Would you mind saying a little bit about that?
Well, the Learning Center is going to be expanding. where we can have online programming, so we don't have to use our teachers if we have some families that need the online programming to continue, maybe due to some COVID concerns with their students. So that's something that they've expanded, so we don't have to use our own teachers in PLP. They've expanded that service
Yeah, I think
to
that's
us as well.
fabulous too. It's really, it's nice that that they're right there and we work with them so closely in the past and they actually, are making the programs themselves, if I'm not, I think I'm correct saying that they've been working on them for a while now for the online programs and stuff.
I think they started programming and utilizing and lining up teachers probably at the beginning of the year, like in January.
Because they're fabulous, just noting the needs of the cultural differences and diversity differences and everything in our area, and then applying that to their learning programs and stuff. I think that they're just awesome. Shannon Cox does a fabulous job.
They're a great partner to have, yes.
Okay, roll call?
Mrs. Neese,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Amsler,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine.
Yes.
Next, we'll go to the approval of Premier Occupational Health Pricing Agreement for the 2021-22 school year. The superintendent and the assistant superintendent, director of human resources recommend that the Board of Education approve the following resolution and an agreement between Miamisburg City Schools and Premier Occupational Health for costs related to drug screens, follow-up care, initial injury care, pre-employment exam, NIDA 5-panel Act 465 and recertification T8 as listed. Resolution, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Mimesburg City School District declares and determines that due to an Ohio Department of Education requirement that all staff responsible for driving school-aged children must have an annual T8 physical for the 2021-22 school year. Therefore, authorizes Premier Occupational Health to perform said T8 physicals for all CDL and VAN certified staff. Premier Occupational Health will invoice the district at a cost determined prior to May 1st. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the Premier Occupational Health Pricing Agreement for the 21-22 school year.
Second.
Okay, first by Angel, second by Amsler. Would that be you, Mr. Holman, then, for that?
So this is an annual agreement. State of Ohio requires us to outline a vendor or provider for school bus and van certifications each year. And we've been using Premier for the last several years to provide good service. They're also our partner with workers' compensation. And if you've noticed, there's been more and more Premier occupational health kind of popping around here. Those have been very beneficial for any of our employees that get hurt on the job, follow up for workers' comps and things like that. And they are very competitive with their pricing.
Any questions? My roll call?
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Amsler,
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes.
Mrs. Neese.
Yes. The approval of transportation agreement with the City of Miamisburg. It is the recommendation of the Treasurer, CFO, Director of Business, and Transportation Supervisor to approve a transportation agreement with the City of Miamisburg. Under the terms of the agreement, Miamisburg City School District will transport pupils participating in the city's summer recreation programs to Sycamore Aquatic Center and Sycamore Park. In return, the City of Miamisburg agrees to reimburse the Miamisburg City School District for all costs incurred. Do I have a motion?
I'll move for the approval of transportation agreement with the City of Miamisburg.
Second.
First by Lewis, second by Toadvine. Any discussion? Didn't you, Mr. Gilbert, didn't we do that last year too?
Yeah, the city actually ended up canceling their summer program last year.
Oh, yeah, that's right,
But,
yeah,
they
that's
are
true.
looking forward to starting it back up this year. They will be using Mark Twain Elementary as their indoor area, but then we will be transporting them from there to the aquatic center on several trips. So it's a standard agreement we have with the
Okay.
city.
All right. Roll call?
Mr. Toadvine,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Amsler,
Yes.
Mrs. Neese,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Okay, next we have the approval of depository agreement and pricing amendment with Fifth Third Bank. It is the recommendation of the Treasurer CFO that the Miamisburg City School District Board of Education approve the attached depository agreement and pricing amendment with Fifth Third Bank for the period beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the depository agreement and pricing amendment with Fifth Third Bank.
Second.
Who was
Somebody has to call it.
Chris.
Dale. Chris won the last one.
Okay, so first by Angel,
Guess we're giving
second
it
by
to Dale.
Tovine.
Okay, we're giving it to Dale.
Okay, and Ms. Hegaman, do you want to talk about that then?
Every 5 year, you have to have a deposit, we have to have a depository agreement on file. And it's recommended that we get a new depository agreement every 5 years. When I first came here in January 2016, I noticed we were paying what I considered to be too many bank fees. So I redid the depository agreement at that time, and can you believe it? It's been 5 years. So looking at a new depository agreement, Fifth Third was able to reduce their fees for us, an additional $2,184 a year, which doesn't sound like much, but I will take every penny we can get. We're looking at new things that we can do with them to help streamline our services, so we're going to continue our agreement with them. So just need your approval for that, please.
Roll call?
Mrs. Angel?
Yes.
Mrs. Neese?
Yes.
Mr. Amsler?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine?
Yes.
Thank you.
The approval of the agreement with the Warren County Educational Service Center. Recommended action. The superintendent and treasurer, CFO, recommend approval of the attached agreement with the Warren County Educational Service Center for services to be provided during the 2021-22 school year. Do I have a motion?
I'll move for the approval of agreement with the Warren County Educational Service Center.
Second.
First by Lewis, second by Toadvine.
I don't want to step on anybody.
Do you want to talk about that, Mrs. Lucas?
So this one is our summary of service for Warren County for next year. So it's the anticipated services that we believe we are going to need from them for next year.
Roll call?
Mr. Amsler?
Yes.
Mrs. Neese?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mrs. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine?
Yes.
Okay. The approval of the agreement with Healthcare Process Consulting, HPC. It is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approve agreement with Healthcare Process Consulting. Do I have a motion?
I will move for the approval of the agreement with Healthcare Process Consulting.
Second.
First by Toadvine, second by Amsler.
Mr.
Ms.
Homan.
Toman?
No, actually, it's Katie.
Okay, okay.
What this is HPC is our Medicaid billing company, so the related services for students on IEPs can be billed back to Medicaid for reimbursement for Medicaid eligible students, and HPC is the company who does that billing for us.
All right.
Now, just to give you some insight, it's a $22,000 contract, but it's $491,000 in revenue every year, so please approve it.
That's a good offset.
All right, roll call?
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Amsler,
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine,
Yes.
Mrs. Neese.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the approval of the agreement with Plattenberg and Associates Incorporated. It is recommended by the Treasurer, CFO, that the Board of Education approve the contract with Plattenberg and Associates Incorporated. Do I have a motion?
I move for the agreement with Plattenberg and Associates Incorporated.
I'll second.
Okay, first by Amsler, second by Angel. And
That one's
I'm not
mine.
sure who to refer that to.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's for
okay.
our annual
All right.
CAFR. They help us put that together. So our comprehensive annual financial report. I'm not allowed to call it a CAFR anymore. I forgot. So they help us put put everything together and make sure that we're in compliance with all the rules and regulations and submit it to the auditor's office. And so we just started this agreement with Plattenberg 2-3 years ago, and we'd like to continue that. They've done a stellar job.
All right. Well, roll call?
Mr. Amsler,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine,
Yes.
Mrs. Neese.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, we move to the approval of resolution declaring intent not to provide career technical education in grades 7 through 8. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following resolution declaring intent not to provide career technical education in grades 7 and 8. Whereas Ohio Revised Code Section 3313.90A requires each city, local, and exempted village school district to provide for students in grades 7 through 12 career technical education by means of establishing and maintaining a program, by being a member of a joint vocational school district, JVSD, or by contracting with a JVSD or another school district. And whereas Division B of Section 3313.90 provides that a Board of Education may adopt a resolution not to provide career technical education to students enrolled in grade 7, grade 8, both grades 7 and 8, and will receive a waiver from the Ohio Department of Education so long as said resolution is filed by September 30th of that particular school year. Now therefore be it, and it is hereby resolved, that while the Mimesburg Board of Education recognizes the importance of providing adequate training for students to enter their selected occupations, the board hereby adopts this resolution notifying the Ohio Department of Education of its intent not to offer career technical education for students enrolled in grade 7, grade 8, both grades 7 and 8 during the 2020-21 school year, and be it further resolved that the Mimesburg Board of Education respectfully requests that the Ohio Department of Education issue the waiver required by Ohio Revised Code Section 3313.90B, and be it further resolved that the Treasurer CFO is hereby directed to certify and submit a copy of this resolution to the Ohio Department of Education at the earliest opportunity so as to ensure its receipt by the department on a date which is in no event later than the 30th day of September 2020. Let's see here, part of that staple. This resolution was duly adopted during a public meeting of the Miamisburg Board of Education on August 13th, 2020. Oops.
Did that?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, sorry. Okay, do I have a motion?
Well, we need to change that to May 20th, 21 instead of.
Right, and it needs to be September 30, 2021.
Okay,
September 30th.
Yeah.
I just thought it was something that got stuck in there. Okay, so the resolution was duly adopted during a public meeting of the Miamisburg Board of Education on September 20th, did you
No,
say?
held today, May
Held today, May
20th, 2021. It's in the
21.
paragraph previous, the last sentence, it says we need to have it, with the Department of Education on a date, which is in no event later than the 30th day of September 2021, because
Okay,
we missed September 2020.
all right.
And I will move we approve the resolution declaring intent not to provide career tech education in grades 7 and 8.
Second.
The year up under now therefore it be is also should be changed to the 2021-2022 school year.
Yep. Thank you. I didn't catch that.
All right, so first by Amsler and second by Lewis.
Sharon Angel.
Oh, Angel and then Lewis, sorry.
We, you know, that bodes the point. Intermission and ordering a Ron's Pizza has got to be somewhere on this agenda.
Mind reader.
Said this over and over again.
Just saying. And I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking it.
Or a bathroom break, okay.
The bathrooms are locked.
They're locked.
All right, so I think we're down the roll call.
We are,
Okay,
yes, sir.
roll call.
Let's
Yes.
move forward. So we
Mrs.
can get that
Angel?
Ron's Pizza.
Yes.
Mr. Amsler?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine?
Yes.
Mrs. Neese?
Yes. And on to the approval of the district 5-year forecast. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the 2021-22 5-year forecast as submitted to the Ohio Department of Education. Do I have a motion?
I move we accept the 5-year financial report.
A second.
Okay, first by Angel, second by Lewis. Any discussion? We already kind of discussed it.
Yeah, I
so-
hope we don't need to
All right,
discuss
roll
it.
call.
Mr.
Okay.
Toadvine?
Yes.
Mrs. Neese?
Yes.
Mrs. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Amsler?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the approval of temporary appropriations for fiscal year 2021, 2022. It is recommended by the Treasurer CFO that the Board of Education approve the following temporary appropriations for fiscal year 2021-22. The general fund, okay, that's 16 million. Bond retirement, 12 million. Permanent improvement, 2,500,000. Nutrition services, 1,500,000. Special trust, 5,000. Uniform supply, 75,000. Office funds, 25,000. Local grants, 10,000. District agency, OHSAA, 2,000. Employee benefits, self-insured, 25,000. Termination benefits, 400,000. Capital projects, 50,000. Student activities, 125,000. District activity, 75,000. Auxiliary services, 325,000. EMIS, 150,000. Data communication, 16,200. Student wellness and success, 150,000. Miscellaneous state grants, 35,000. Elementary and secondary emergency relief fund, 325,000. IDEA, 375,000. School improvement, Title I, 2,500. Limited English proficiency, 29,000. Title I, 325,000. Preschool, 25,000. Improving teacher quality, 35,000. Miscellaneous federal grant fund, 52,000, for a total of 34,636,700. Do I have a motion?
I'll move for the approval of temporary appropriations fiscal year 2021-22.
Second.
Okay, first by Lewis and second by Toadvine. Any discussion or questions or?
As we approach the end of this fiscal year and begin the next fiscal year, I just need your approval to have temporary appropriations in place until our permanent appropriations are approved, so that we can continue to pay people, spend money out of the appropriate grants, blah, blah, blah. You will get the permanent appropriations. Typically, I try to do those in July. But just in case something happens and that isn't done, this gets us to August or September, and it's a requirement by the Ohio Revised Code, so.
Okay. Roll call?
Mrs. Neese?
Yes.
Mr. Amsler?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine?
Yes.
Mrs. Angel?
Yes.
Okay, certificate of availability. The treasurer, the dollar amount, $3,236. The treasurer CFO recommends the Board of Education approve the certificate of availability for Michael J. Bierman and Associates, LLC. Do I have a motion?
I move for the certificate availability.
Second.
Okay, first by Toadvine, second by Lewis.
Ohio Revised Code requires that the purchase order be dated prior to the invoice, and if you had a chance to look over the attachment, you'll see that the PO was dated May 5th, meaning that the superintendent and treasurer approved the purchase on May 3rd, actually, 5/3, and the purchase invoice was done on 4/22. I have the authority to approve those kind of purchases after the fact up to $3,000, but this one is $3,200 and requires your approval.
Roll call?
Mr. Toadvine?
Yes.
Mrs. Angel?
Yes.
Mr. Amsler?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mrs. Neese?
Yes. Okay, next, certificate of availability, $8,475,000. The treasurer CFO recommends the Board of Education approve the certificate of availability for net demics for Bishop Leipold. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the certificate availability.
Is $8,475, correct?
Yes.
Oh, did I say it wrong?
You heard
Second.
what I heard, Joe? Okay. We both looked up at the same time.
Oh, what did I say? Did I say 8 million?
800 and 475,000, I think is what you said.
It's been a long evening.
It's been a long
And
night.
who seconded it? See, first
Bishop
by,
Leibold woke up, didn't he? I heard that. Sorry.
so we had a first by Amsler. Did I ever get a second?
I second it.
Dale did.
Okay.
Yeah, Dale.
Oh, it's Angel, okay.
Angel
First by
first.
Angel, second by Toadvine.
Yes. My mild little voice you didn't hear.
Okay,
This is a purchase made by Bishop Leibold where they're fiscal agent for their 401 or auxiliary funds, their state money. So they had a PO in place dated 4/1, invoice was dated 2/1, so I need your approval. The funds were available, so that's what we're doing. We're saying, yes, the funds were available, although the purchase was made prior to the purchase order being approved.
roll call?
Mrs. Angel?
Yes.
Mrs. Neese?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine?
Yes.
Mr. Amsler?
Yes.
Okay, next we have a settlement agreement with Target for $26,784.07. The treasurer CFO recommends the Board of Education approve the attached settlement agreement with Target. Do you have a motion?
I move for the settlement agreement with Target.
A second.
Okay, first by Amsler, second by Lewis.
This is a agreement with Target. They had, just to settle a BOR complaint on valuations, and they're gonna do a direct pay to the district so that we don't lose any money on the reduction in values that they're gonna see on their properties. So they're just gonna pay us directly the difference, which is $26,000, pretty much holding us harmless.
call?
Mr. Amsler,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine,
Yes.
Mrs. Neese,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Okay. The settlement agreement for Mimesburg Properties LLC, $74,274.90. The treasurer CFO recommends the Board of Education approve the attached settlement agreement with Miamisburg Properties LLC. Do you have a motion?
I'll move to approve the settlement agreement, Miamisburg Properties LLC.
I second it.
Okay, first by Lewis, second by Toadvine.
I'll just say ditto for 74,000.
Okay. All right.
What is Miamisburg Properties LLC?
I couldn't tell you what they do, but they're a business in this area, so I'd have to look.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Toadvine,
Yes.
Mrs. Neese,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes.
Mr. Amsler.
Yes.
Okay, next is the authorization for amendment to the appropriations and certificate of estimated resources. It is recommended by the treasurer CFO that the appropriations and certificate of estimated resources be amended as listed in the attached reports. Do I have a motion?
I move we authorize the amendment to the appropriations and certificate of estimated resources.
Second?
First by Angel, second by Amsler.
We do this every month. This is just the update to our budgets and the update to our revenue projections. Fortunately, this month, our budget went up considerably and our revenues did not coincide with that. But the primary reason for that would be the tuition cost went up for kids that are attending somewhere else. So hopefully we can get some of those kids to come back so we don't have to continue to pay these high tuition amounts. We had to add over $335,000 to our budget to offset the cost of tuition.
Roll call?
Mr. Toadvine,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes.
Mrs. Neese,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Amsler.
Yes.
Okay. And this next section is information only. The next Board of Education regular meeting will be held on Tuesday, June 24th, 2000. Okay, sorry. June 24th, 2021 at 6 p.m. City of Miamisburg Council Chambers per organizational meeting of January 12th, 2021. The Local Professional Developmental Committee, LPDC, of the Miamisburg City Schools will hold their 2021-22 meetings on the following dates: September 23rd, 2021, December 15th, 2021, March 15th, 2022, May 3rd, 2022. All meetings for LPDC will be held in the Memorial Building Professional Development Room at 4:15 p.m. Okay, and then we'll go on with any questions about that? Reports, we'll go on with the Mvctc news from Joe Isakovich.
Good evening. It's good
Morning, isn't it?
Yeah. You stole my line. That's what I was going to say. First off, senior recognition ceremony was held this past Sunday, May 16th. We had two sessions, one at 1 o'clock, one at 5 o'clock. I had the privilege of speaking at both. We had 736 students receive their passport. I think each of you received a program from the ceremony. Basically, although our Miamisburg students are listed as the graduates from MHS, I wanted to mention our graduating or our students at CTC. that received their passports. Mackenzie Annis, Lillian Arthur, Treasure Beechler, Christine Beck, John Blair, Haley Jean Blankenship, Sadie Boggs, Ashana Bunting, Noah Cannon, Cassandra Carnival, David Clark, Sidney Cole, Keenan Cupid, Reagan Dirth, Jeremiah Denny, Braxton DeWeese, Heaven Dotson, Jacob Leon Fritz, Kaylin Fugate, Lucas Garcia, Chloe Noel Heine, Aiden Hauk, Philip Jacobs, Deontra Davis, Johnson Davis, I should say, Juliana Kaler, Danny Kemper, Harmony Lane, Jessica Langford, Alexander Lawson, Alexandria Lay, Kian Kong Lee, Nathan McDaniel, Ashley McFarland, Raj Patel, Mariah Pearson, Christopher Paulies, Deshay Rainey, Olivia Rourke, Jessica Rocks, Luis Rosales Esparza, Haley Shaw, Shakivia Smith, Brooklyn Sorrell, Zachary Statzer, Cameron Steele, Isaac Swift, Lavelle Williamson, Curtis Woodgard, and Maka Zickcraft. And I wanted to put them on record. I held off on telling you there were 49 because I didn't want Chris to request a bathroom break. Basically, scholarship-wise, total in tech prep, we gave, or there were awarded $2,385,000 to our students. All money awarded to all of our students, $4,432,321. So that was awesome. Applications for the class of 2023 are still arriving, and the top 5 requested programs: pre-nursing, cosmetology, veterinary science, welding, and criminal justice. Our BPA students, some of them are going to national. Lacey Baker from Miamisburg and Aiden Hauk from Miamisburg will be going to the nationals. In our apprenticeship internship program, we currently have 97 students participating. The program of the month is early childhood education. We have 14 participating, and Maka Zickcraft from Miamisburg is doing her apprenticeship at Early Beginnings in West Carrollton. Basically, that's all I have to offer. Any questions or comments? Chris, do you have anything for me tonight that we can discuss? It is morning, as someone stated.
No, Joe. I was, since it's getting late, I will probably ask next month in regards to how things are going as far as the construction and all that. But I'll give you time, and I know it's getting late, so.
Yeah, that's fine. Please submit it in writing, and
I will do that.
prepare.
I will do that.
If there's
With bullet
nothing
points,
else,
yes.
thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Joe. And then we'll move on to our legislative liaison, Sharon Angel.
I will not say a lot, and I won't say anything about the budget bill because Tina has covered it pretty thoroughly, and they're still up there talking about it. So if any of you have a chance to talk to Niraj Antani about how we feel about it, I would appreciate you doing that. As you said, Ann has already done
He's
that.
very much for it.
He is very supportive of it.
The other thing is, the General Assembly sent a bill to Governor DeWine for his approval for a bill that would establish a residential broadband expansion program, which would have been very helpful last year if we had had that in place for our students when they were out there struggling. There is another bill that has been submitted that would revise the state report card, which is something we've been asking for. Part of what they're going to do, maybe, if it passes, is replace the A through F letter grade system with a 5-star rating system. I'm not sure how, if you get 2 stars, if people are going to look at that as a B, or if they're going to look at that as something different. So I don't see that that's going to be very helpful. It will also delay implementation of the Prepared for Success measure to 2023, require the State Board of Education to adopt a rule to add a gifted indicator and include value-added data in the equity component. And there's some other bills that have been introduced, but they've just barely been introduced until they're further along. I won't bore you with them tonight.
All right, thanks, Mrs. Angel. And then we go on to our Student Achievement Liaison, Christopher Amsler.
Well, along with our Medlar View Student of the Month, Miss Chloe Bartlett, that we honored tonight, I also want to recognize, or we want to recognize, other individuals at our other schools as well for the Students of the Month. And that would be Bauer Elementary School, Emma Leapst, Bear Elementary School, Mr. Austin Todd, Jane Chance Elementary School, Caden Hayes, Kinder Elementary School, Jocelyn Peterson, Mark Twain Elementary School, Savannah Coe, Mound Elementary School, Lily Miller, and Mimesburg Middle School, Paisley Taylor, and also at the Mimesburg High School, Nick Stevens. So congratulations to all of our April Students of the Month, especially that we honored tonight, Miss Chloe Bartlett. Also, I'll just go ahead and finish the district news and information. The latest Making a Difference honoree is Mimesburg High School teacher Amanda Giovanna, nominated by Mr. Michael Black. All of our full nominations can be read at the MimesburgCitySchools.org as well. On April 30th, another Mimesburg High School athlete committed to further his academic and athletic career at the next level. Mr. Jacob Brooks will attend Wittenberg University to Division III for tennis, as well as Jacob became the 13th athlete to commit from the Mimesburg High School for the class of 2021. So congratulations to him and all of our other athletes that are going on to further their academic and athletic careers.
Right.
That would be it.
Thank you, Mr. Amsler, and we'll go on to the Montgomery County Drug-Free Coalition Liaison, Tim Lewis.
I was not able to participate today. I was working. I couldn't Zoom on the side of the smokestacks. I didn't think it'd be safe.
Okay.
My reception was good.
Okay, and Mr. Amsler already read the district news. So, I guess we'll go around the table now.
I guess that means Mr. Tovine will start. Okay, I'm going to keep it very, very short. I think that we had a great year considering all the obstacles, and it just was difficult. No doubt about it, it was a difficult year, and having been a teacher, I can certainly appreciate just all the hoops and everything that everybody had to jump through to try to make this as successful a year as possible for our kids. And I think that, by golly, overall, everybody did a pretty doggone good job. I would also just like to make the mention that we did have one of our athletes get drafted in the second round of the NFL, Josh Myers, which I think is something worth noting. That's 1 in 10,000 high school athletes ever get set foot on a professional field. So that's pretty good. And I'm done. ahead, sir.
Okay. I agree with Dale, as far as how the school year. Wanted to give a special thanks to our parents, though. Long, challenging year. We appreciate all their continued support and their commitment to their children's education. And whether it was remote or in person, we heard from a lot of people this year. And, it was very challenging. And my hat's off to them. I think everybody kind of chipped in to make it a very successful year. Mr. Hansel.
I'll be you, thank the parents. I will probably thank our staff. I know it's been a trying year from Dr. Blessing all the way down. Many phone calls. Steve, you were a part of that just as much as Dr. Blessing was, and everybody else that at central office. Many hours I don't even know about that you guys were discussing different things. So I know we have 5 of our 7 elementary school teachers here tonight. So thank you for coming. You may have picked the wrong night to come. But in that being said, it's been a trying year for all of us. So thank you for everything that you guys have done, keeping the schools going. I know everybody's been looking for subs and people's been out for various different reasons and everything else. But for the most part, I think everything has ran smooth. And I want to thank you all for each and every one of you for being on the front lines each and every day. Every time I've come in, everybody's been in a good mood, surprisingly, and willing to talk and willing to do different things and try different things. So thanks. With that, I know our graduates, our seniors, it's been a trying pretty much 15, 18 months for them. From wearing masks and being socially distanced, and haven't been able to truly experience their high school the last 18 months, with the exception of a few things just recently. So thank you to them and congratulations to them, and hopefully they have a successful career in whatever they do as they graduate. So with that, I'll move forward.
Yeah, I just pretty much say ditto to all that, and congratulations to Mrs. Huber for her move to kinder school. Good luck with all of that. I think you'll love it there just like you love Mound. And just congratulations to the girls softball team. I know Dr. Blessing said they did take a loss tonight, but when I was in school there weren't any sports. And I just think it's so cool to see these girls just being so tough and so competitive, and I just think it is wonderful how successful they have been. And that's really all I wanted to say. Yeah.
I will just ditto what everyone has said. And I do want to say again, congratulations to all of the retirees, because they will be missed, and their talents and their knowledge will be. But there are up and coming newcomers who will come on board and will help make our district move forward. And yes, as Chris said, the seniors, this has been a tough year for them. So thank goodness they finally got to have a prom. They're going to have a graduation, so that is good news. Congratulations to Mrs. Huber and to Mr. Salyer for your new positions next year. I know you'll be missed where you are, but you're going to move forward and do great things, so thank you.
Actually, I don't know who's more excited, Jeremy or Mr. Black, because I've talked to them both, and they both can't stop from smiling. So, but they'll do a great job together up there.
And I do have one more thing to say. It has been my pleasure to serve on this board for 15 and a half years. I will be 16 in December. But I do want to announce that I am not running for re-election. So I want community members or anyone who wants to run to have that opportunity to do that. And they must have a petition filed at the Board of Elections on August 4th by 4 p.m. So I want to give everyone the opportunity, if they want to serve this board. We're a good board, we're a good district. So with that, move on to Mrs. Hegaman.
Okay, I will just say ditto to everything everyone said. I will have the new 5-year forecast submitted to ODE tomorrow morning. And then I just wanted to remind everyone that my team and I will be at professional development Friday afternoon with Miami Valley school business officials, because I'm being elected as the president for that group this year, so I sort of have to show up. And I'm taking my team as staff appreciation, and there is going to be some really good professional development for teams and leadership. So just on a personal note, since it's going to be a while before I get home, I want to say happy anniversary to my husband, because today is our anniversary, so I'll be home as soon as I can.
I think my wife's sitting on the front porch listening to the cicadas.
Just two things real quick. I think tonight's a true witness of when we talk about the city of Miamisburg with all of our retirements and how close-knit this community is, supports its schools, and the dedication that all of our staff has. Just not our teachers that were honored this evening, but we had a good mix of certificated and classified. And so with the amount of years of service, it just shows to our community how much our staff and our families value the education that we give our students. So congratulations to all of them, 440 years. I think that's the largest in the time that I've been here that we've had. So, and then just a reminder, we are doing, this will probably be our last vaccination clinic this coming Sunday from 12 to 6 at the middle school for ages 12 and up. So.
Well, will they not be able to get their second vaccine?
Oh, they will, June 13th, same time, same place, same bat channel, so
Well, you
it'll
said
be good.
this is the last, and I'm like, wait
Oh,
a minute.
no. I mean, the last one that we'll probably host. We've hosted quite a few, and I think we've been able to vaccinate all of the state of Ohio at this point, so, you know.
Hey, my great-granddaughter signed up for that one, so.
Yeah, the second round will be June 13th, so.
Really fast. First of all, Dr. Weldy wanted to give a shout out to Joe, because he told me on Tuesday in our meeting that Joe did a wonderful job both of the awards presentations, and said that, you know, he was the star of the show and appreciated all he did. So I was unable to attend, so I'm looking forward to hearing him next year. Yeah, so congratulations. And also, I just want to thank the board and the cabinet and our administrators, because it has been an unusual year, and we are getting excited that as June 11th approaches, as we conclude the student day on the 10th and the staff day on the 11th, that we're looking forward to a new normal come August. And as the governor said, he wants us to wear masks until the conclusion of our school year, but I'm thinking that means no masks next year. And that's what we're hoping, as long as I think things go as planned, and that's our course we're hoping to take. So we appreciate all of our parents and our students, and of course the valuable staff that have joined us on this journey and rode the wave. So that's it.
Is that all?
Anyone else?
I move we adjourn.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn? First by Ted-Vine, and,
Well,
I will
are you
second
adjourning or going into executive session?
oh, we have to do that first, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just reading the agenda.
Okay.
The
Just
rest of
remember,
us can
the
leave, but
bathrooms are
not
locked.
you.
We get pizza. Sorry, Chris.
Okay.
All right, so
Go ahead.
Ann needs to, do we need to have a motion and
Do
a
I have a
second?
motion to enter executive session?
I move that we enter executive session. Chris?
Second.
Okay, first by Toadvine, second by Amsler, and time-in would be, what time is it?
8:59.
Okay.
And if we do roll call, Mr. Lewis, can you say yes? Mr. Toadvine,
Yes.
Mr. Amsler,
Yes.
Mrs. Angel,
Yes.
Mrs. Neese.
Yes,
Okay, so when you exit,
We got executive session.
make sure you
do that. The first and second.